Alright, theory and theology, what is up? What is up? I want to post something about just like a brainstorm about the job market, the remote work job market, the economy. Now, I'm not the most uh, trained or skilled person, I'm not a financial advisor, but I want to jump into some of the experiences that I've had. Now, on March 8th, I posted a podcast episode about, you know, how people don't really have retirement savings. Now, when we start talking about finances, I never, ever, ever want to be in a point where I sound like I'm blaming people, where I'm blaming the victims, where I'm blaming people. Most of us weren't taught a lot about finances, personal finances, and we live in a consumeristic society. A lot of us aren't taught up until more recently about the psychological impacts of, you know, how 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 your mental health and how your psychological well-being can potentially impact your spending habits or the impulsivity of the spending habits or what you want to spend, almost like anything, right? So for example, if I'm not feeling in the happiest mood, that's going to affect my appetite, right? That's going to affect, you know, what I choose to eat. I might not pick that healthy salad that I have to make and chop up all these veggies. Just naturally, I'm not going to feel in the mood for that. You know, cortisol from stress and all the other hormonal and things happening, with like dopamine and serotonin and lacking in certain things like that. If you're depressed or anxious or whatever, that affects your appetite. We all know that, right? Like that's something that you kind of learn in school. Maybe you might learn that much. In today's day and age, I'm hoping people learn more, but I'm an elder millennial. Our health classes, I don't think even taught us psychology, depression. It was basically like hygiene and puberty and stuff like that. Like we didn't really learn about mental health too much. I don't think we learned at all about mental health. But we didn't learn about trauma. We didn't learn about depression, anxiety. We didn't learn about medications, how to talk to your doctors. I think we learned about like what abuse is from an adult and like how you can get help and like safety, like adults shouldn't touch you like this or whatever, like we learned that kind of stuff, but we didn't learn, we learned for the time what, you know, healthcare professionals wanted us to learn. Mental health was way more taboo. Um, and the services were there, but maybe not as talked about or taught about as they are now. And that, how just like how when you maybe don't feel at your best, it affects maybe your eating habits. It affects possibly your exercise routines or lack thereof. You know, you have to kind of practice this thing called behavioral activation, kind of going through the motions, doing the things that you know you need to do instead of what you feel you want to do. It's like, yeah, I'd love to eat half of a cake and half of a pizza, over the span of a day instead of eating salads and drinking, fresh water and like juices, fresh squeezed juices, and going on like a hike and a run and going to the beach and sleeping on time. Like, no, you want to stay up late, binge watch some crap that's, you know, not even healthy for you, But think about it. Like, spending is similar. Spending is in a similar category of these other day-to-day choices. And I've talked about it, how I noticed watching Caleb Hammer's show there's these trends that come up with the amount that we, as a society, the amount that we spend on food delivery, the amount, or ordering food delivery, the amount that we spend on takeout. Picking up food or having it instantly delivered to you is part of a stress response, I believe. I've kind of tried to, I don't have like proof of like a real qualitative study on all this, but from what I've gathered, most people say, I'm busy, I'm stressed, therefore I will take the expense, when we all know, I can order Jersey Mike's turkey sub for $25 with a nice tip from Uber Eats or something, right? And I get one sub sandwich for that much money. I could go to the store and buy, I don't know how many French rolls. I could buy healthy meat. Let's say it's even pricey. Let's say it's $11 meat. A head of lettuce doesn't cost that much. A tomato or two doesn't cost that much. I could make Jersey Mike sandwiches for 5 days in a week, with the amount of just buying the ingredients at Sprouts. But that takes time to buy it. It takes time to go in. You have to do the shopping, and then you have to come home and make the sandwiches. I mean, even if you meal prep all those sandwiches, it might take you, let's say, I live right near a Sprouts, and I would say, even if I knew exactly where a couple items were, driving there, parking, getting food from there, getting through the checkout, and then coming back to the car, driving back home, I doubt I could do that in less than 30 minutes, unless I'm like really rushing, and I live like half a mile from Sprouts. So unless I'm like really, really, really rushing, I don't know if I could realistically get in and out that quick. But let's call it 30 minutes. And then come home and make one sandwich. Let's call that 20 minutes. So from that point on, you're taking about 20 minutes to make that sandwich. But the first day, let's call it 50 minutes. Okay, if I go and order from Uber Eats, how long is it going to take them? It's going to take them, you're rarely going to get your food in less than half an hour, right? So you're really only saving 20 minutes or so. Really, you're really saving 20 minutes. Now the Jersey Mike sandwich might taste better, but not that much different, right? The sauces are different, the meats are different, but it's not going to taste that much different. And it's going to cost pretty much the amount of 5 days worth of the groceries just for that sandwich that you can remake over and over at home. I'm estimating here. I don't even know. You could get it cheaper. I mean, I'm just saying Sprouts because it's healthy, and so people might have less of a complaint, because I know another complaint is, well, I want to eat healthy, which I understand, So there's a difference between like Walmart lunch meat versus like the fresh cut, organic meats that you get at a farmer's market or Whole Foods type of store. So I'm aware of that. But yes, there's that expense, guys. And let's say that expense really saves you maybe 20 minutes. Now the energy you spend to go in the store and be civil and be nice in the parking lot and drive in the traffic and come home and, make a meal. Like maybe you're in a mood where you want to just isolate, so you just go to the door, pick up your delivery, come back to your space and eat it, and not have to interact with anybody else in the house. But these are stress and mood related, and you see how that can impact your spending just with one sandwich. I'm only talking about one Jersey Mike's Uber Eats delivery versus you tell yourself, oh, I'm going to go to Sprouts today and buy my lunch makings, and I'm going to eat sub sandwiches every day for 5 days you can spend pretty much the equivalent amount of money. Um, so I'm noticing this. That's a trend. The stress and the energy it takes to get healthy food in our bodies. Um, that's a whole, issue, because people are, myself included, spending those extra funds. But this is more than once. Most people are doing this more than once. Most people are doing this more than once a month. On the Caleb Hammer show, a lot of people who are in this severe debt are doing this multiple times a week. In addition to dropping by, places and drive through, or just walking in, standing in line at like Panda Express or something. But sorry, I had to adjust my air. The heater was on and it's getting kind of toasty, so transitioned over to the fan. But I wasn't really trying to talk about Caleb Hammer. I guess what I want to talk about is remote work. And what I've learned in the last maybe year of ideas surrounding remote work and finances in general. Now, I don't know how many job applications I put in. I'd like to go back and count. But getting connected with a recruiting company was probably the easiest route of job searching. Now, it wasn't fast, because they had to wait for jobs to come up available. But they only sent me jobs I was qualified for that needed people. It was pretty much a direct lead. And I could have landed a job with any of these places. So I think, even though I wasn't applying to a lot of these places within mental health and related types of work, I was applying for remote work, and where I don't need a license. So most of it, you needed a license. And the ones where you didn't need a license, the pay was like so low. It was like $18-20 an hour, but remote. And of the places I applied to that even weren't remote, that didn't require a license, that were case management-esque, I'd say maybe like a 50% rate of being able to schedule interviews, since I have already 7 to 9 years of experience in the field. I say 7 to 9 because 2 of those years were 2 practicum placements within those 2 years. They weren't each 2 years long, but it was within 2 years. And then 7 years was paid employment. So I think I did get like a $100 or $200 stipend once a month from the other places. And back then, because it was so long ago, it did cover like my gas for the month pretty much. And most sites didn't even give a stipend. And so at least I had the stipend. I was able to get training. Like I said, I've been training in sales, digital marketing, and digital advertising, and with the goal to kind of go maybe towards that direction, kind of like soft tech skills that don't involve any kind of coding or anything like that. I'm also interested in cybersecurity, but that is going to take a while to build a portfolio of projects that I've worked on, and getting certifications to be able to do that. So at this time, I don't really know where I'm going with that, but I'm going to take the job that I've landed and, save 20K, and that is going to be capital for, alternative sources of income. So I'll talk about the options, and I don't really know. It just depends what's going to work out. So I'd like to open up like a group home facility. That's going to take longer because that is, property. And I'm going to have, money to be able to purchase a property. And out here in Southern California, it's like you need a lot of money for that. So that's not something I'm going to be able to do instantly. I've been in the reselling game for so long. That's something that easily I could get into. Used or new electronics, that's kind of my specialty. I've talked about that I want to get into reselling like lion's mane mushrooms, and I want to get a permit. It cost me $3,000 to get a permit to be able to sell cannabis products. $3,000 isn't going to be that hard to come by, but that's not a priority. Making sure my car is in decent condition and seeing what the difference is between, leasing a car for 6 to 12 months compared to repairing this one. Because this job, I would intend to keep it for 6 to 12 months. It's just a stepping stone to kind of get me toward what I want, to build capital, build connections. And on the note of like a group home and trying to like help with the homelessness crisis, I want to open up a safe parking lot, like either for parking cars or for the tents, a safe sleeping lot where there's tents, bathroom facilities, shower facilities. It's going to have security. I'd like to have it good quality where there's people who have resources coming in and getting people placed onto new lists of facilities, housing facilities, before the apartments even open. That's the method that I've found working through case management that works the fastest. Otherwise, in San Diego, I think the wait list for Section 8 is like around 10 years, 8 years, 10 years. So unless you have kids or some kind of program that you're connected with that places you more directly, you're not getting placed, unfortunately, as soon as possible. But the way that I've seen work the fastest, from working in a field where I was working with homeless populations often, was seeing them work, having an inside connection to a person who gets access to the names and locations of facilities that have a wait list for tenants and a qualifying process for tenants before the doors open for the apartment complex, so that they already have qualified tenants and you can tell what place on a wait list you are, and you can get contacted when there's an available apartment. And this is before the apartment's even open. And then once the apartment's open, they start making contact. And so, and usually these are low income apartments, but that's more affordable than what most people are going to get in San Diego, LA, Orange County. And a lot of these sites, they're not listed online, at least back when I was working, and like up until the end of 2022, this stuff was not listed online. You could look up the addresses and stuff, but you couldn't find it on Zillow. You couldn't find it, like you could find the address of the property, but it wouldn't tell you this is low income housing, this is affordable housing, this is, you know, connected with some kind of government program. It would never tell you any of that. So you basically had to have somebody inside telling you these details. Now, all these things I mentioned, these are interests of mine. I'm not saying that, like, I expect to get this job and just, like, roll into all these different areas and start, like, opening all these businesses and stuff. Like, I think the reselling is going to always be going on. That's, like, a consistent thing that I dabble with off and on. It's the easiest thing to open and shut down if I don't want to do it anymore. Because it just is based on, you know, what I'm posting. So if I don't post anything, I don't have anything shown to sell, and nobody's going to be contacting me or buying anything. But these other things are more permanent, you know, having property and deeds and all this other stuff in place. You know, you got to deal with zoning and all these laws and fees and staff and plumbing, you know, rain, all kinds of stuff. Like, there's got to be stuff you consider. I mean, San Diego, LA, they're not known to be like the rainiest places, but in all honesty, I would not want to be sleeping outside. I've recorded multiple a podcast episode from my car, and I know what it's like to sit in a car for multiple hours on end with the windows up, you know, because you get that slight amount of privacy that you wouldn't get otherwise with the windows down. And living in a gigantic city, I've noticed where there's shade in certain areas where you can just kind of chill and park, other people know about those shaded spots too, and so they park in them as well. And I'm not talking homeless people, I'm talking, you know, people on their lunch breaks, people who have, you know, maybe I've done this before, you know, just escaping the people you live with, and you just want time to yourself. Take your car down the street and go park somewhere and just chill for a while. You know, I've done that before. But you know, these are options that I have at my disposal. They're like within my own skill and knowledge and education level that I can build up from. Now, what I've been doing in the last year is learning about remote work, online sales. Since it's been hard finding work, I decided, well, why don't I just make my own job for myself and sell my own things? So outside of selling, you know, products, I was selling, I haven't done it lately, but I was selling, you know, social media management services, anything from copywriting, email ad campaigns, landing pages, and kind of almost anything within that realm. Blog posts. I'm not super into like Instagram and LinkedIn posts, but being able to use any of these other pieces of content for posts on social media. So that was the service, and being able to, you know, research, prospect, and outreach to my own, within certain niches, to, you know, gain access to my own clients. You know, the route I went initially was trying to get reviews, trying to get any kind of work out there where people could make a comment towards me like, hey, I liked your work, or hey, it was good quality. Cool. Now I have some reviews to go by. I wasn't really able to get referrals. That wasn't something that I was able to like get easily or anything like that. And then let me see. Going from there, I guess what I wanted to talk about is, because I came across this YouTube channel. This is what's sparking this conversation. I came across this YouTube channel. It's called... What is it called? It's called Work to Remote Jobs - Overemployed. And the title, the thumbnail, basically has this animated, claymation almost looking guy surrounded by stacks and tons of paperwork. And, a red caption saying 10K jobs with an arrow. And the thumbnail has a little mask, red mask. And the title of the video is Remote Job Shortage Applied to 10K Remote Jobs in 10 Days. This was posted 2 days ago at this time. So, 2 days ago was April 18th. So, seeing that, aspect of a video, and I kind of was like, well, it's hard to find remote work, but you can create your own remote work, Now, that's not easy. And so I kind of want to talk about it, but I can't really give a lot of specific details if I'm being so general here, because depending what you want to create, it's going to be different depending what you want to do. But I would say reselling of products is in a way easier. The harder thing about it is, people want refunds. There's all these like refund scams. Another hard thing about reselling actual products is just all the scams involved. Sometimes you get, used products that aren't good quality, or sometimes you can't unload them as fast as you thought you would be able to. And you could use drop shipping methods, but sometimes those aren't as solid as you might want them to be. And there is a little bit of that unpredictable nature. But sometimes you can get into a groove of things and kind of have a system going. But it can change at any moment. These platforms, they have fees. Sometimes they start charging more. Sometimes the payment gateways hold your money. Sometimes your account gets frozen if you get like a bad review, or just somebody being a jerk and they lie about, oh, I never got my product, and then you might be banned from eBay or whatever it may be, whatever platform you're using. It might be harder to get some traction. You kind of have to pay for promotions or pay for more advertising. It's not like it used to be, where it used to be more free. You usually do have to have at least a little bit of money to put forward. But depending, if you get a pretty good product that they call a winning product, if you get a winning product, you can do well. But like I mentioned, things become obsolete. People stop buying. Anything can happen to your account. You could get hacked. People could lie on reviews. People could put a complaint about you. There's a lot of things, even if you're doing things completely right. I'm not saying I've done a bunch of wrong things, but I'm just saying, like, you could do this and be completely legitimate and doing it, everything by the book to the T, everything legally. You're not scamming anyone. You're not trying to get over on anyone. Like an example of that would be, you know, if you just happen to have, I don't know, I like electronics, but religious books sell pretty okay too, um, especially if they're in good condition. Jewish books sell pretty good. So if you basically have like Hebrew, like a Tanakh or a Chumash or Talmud books or whatever, you can sell those. And you know they're usually worth quite a bit of money. You can sell them and you know get quite a bit of money, and you don't have to do anything to it. Just wrap it properly so it doesn't get damaged if it's heavy or something. But yeah, otherwise, electronics are something that can be pretty easy to sell. Say if you had a bunch of electronics, a bunch of, I don't know, headphones that worked. Say you went through multiple jobs or a job that gave you multiple types of headsets. The type you use when you're doing remote work, like a wireless like a Bluetooth, like wireless headset or something, and you have a bunch of Bluetooth type earbuds, headphones. Those types of things tend to sell pretty well. Anything with gaming sells pretty well. And if it's in good condition and you know it works, it's like you could sell that stuff pretty easily. It might just be your own stuff. You're not even like sourcing it from somewhere else. You might just have a lot of stuff on your own. And so taking that and trying to sell it, you might still come across scams or people saying, oh, it didn't work, or they break it and say it doesn't work, or somebody says that you sent them an empty box, all these kind of things, So sometimes you have to do your own due diligence. You have to take photos or even video footage of yourself packaging the boxes, and, video footage if somebody has a return, video footage of you opening the boxes. Sorry, I got kind of, my timer went off. So where was I? Yeah, you could be completely doing it legit and get penalized, wrongly penalized. I think I talked about it maybe on here or elsewhere about when I first opened up an account with TikTok Shop. I immediately got a violation, and they're like, your funds are frozen, and I didn't even use it yet. All I did was set up an account, and I don't think I even posted a product yet, and it was already like kicking me out. So I was never able to set up the shop. I went back and forth for a couple months, and because I had used too many of my, I think you can only appeal once, and because I appealed without knowing what to write, instead of contacting customer service first, I appealed, and the appeal got rejected. And then they're like, well, you've already maxed out your appeals, so you just can't make a shop off of this account. And that was annoying. But stuff like that, like what if I had already made an account because I saw somebody else in one of the lives that TikTok Shop does, where they were doing a Q&A, and somebody else said they had a violation. This was for like a mechanic shop that had a TikTok Shop account open, linked to their products. Now, the thing I like about TikTok is the viral aspect of things. Like, it's much, much, much easier to get a lot of traffic towards your site and products, and especially if you're good at creating video ads. Like TikTok optimized ads, do really well. people are really impulsive on TikTok and they buy. I don't think it's really nice to like, maybe like, help with that system of people spending their money on stuff. But I mean, it's their free will to do it as well. So at the end of the day, maybe they needed it. Maybe they needed whatever you're selling. Who knows? But I don't know if you can sell used stuff. You can sell homemade crafts, like arts and crafts. But I'd say as far as traffic, the best luck I've had was through TikTok, in all honesty. Not TikTok Shop. But, I mean, the reselling of products is, other than how your accounts can just get shut down so quickly, and the process of actually talking to like customer service can be so complicated. Other than that, I would say you can make money, but scaling it is kind of hard because it depends what you're selling. I mean, if you're selling, I think everyone's seen that episode of if you haven't, look it up. Is that there's this episode of Big Bang Theory where they have these what's it called, penny blossoms, and people keep ordering them faster than they can make them. But they're making a lot of money off of it, and then it's like, I guess they were doing same day orders where people ordered like 100 or hundreds of them at a time. And then they kept doing the same day. They kept allowing people to do same day shipping or whatever, 24-hour shipping. And so the whole crew had to like sit overnight and like make all these penny blossoms, these little like flower hairpin things. And I think like there was some LGBT group that was like buying them for their event or something, and like so they had to keep making them. But unless you're making something like arts and crafts related, I don't really know what else you'd be doing. Like unless you're making it, I don't really know. But there's that, and there's reselling of stuff that's used. The drop shipping methods, it just depends where you're drop shipping from. But I guess the good part about drop shipping is that you're not putting up a lot of money up front to risk not making a profit. You wait till somebody makes the purchase, and then you buy from the other site and get it shipped to the person who bought from you. So you're kind of the middle person. You got to make sure you're adjusting the prices and account for so many things, honestly. It might seem like you're making a profit, but between the fee you pay for subscriptions, whatever you pay for the shipping, whatever you pay for, I don't know, if you're paying for any kind of promotions to get your item listed to more people, or any kind of traffic related payments or advertising payments, anything like that, it's not free. It's not free to post. It might be free to post, but it's not free to make sales. And then you have to consider the payment gateways when you get paid out. What percentage are they taking? So you usually want quite a bit of profit, just to cover all those expenses, which people don't really seem to notice. They can be like, oh, I'm making $1 profit per item, but it's like, if you're not selling like 40 of those items and it's through Shopify, it's like you're paying like $30-40 a month just to have a Shopify account open after your 3-month trial of like $1 a month or whatever. But you're paying $30-40 a month, so you've got to clear the subscription costs, you've got to clear the shipping costs, you've got to clear so many costs. And then if you even want to take into account hourly how long you're spending, because it's not like it's just 5 seconds, like you're spending time researching, sourcing, posting, checking, responding to messages. And this is just when you're selling other people's products, you know. You can make your own products too. Go live on TikTok and talk about your store and stuff. I've seen a lot of people do that, and it's pretty cool. Like people making friendship bracelets or whatever kind of thing they're making. Little beaded jewelry, bracelets, earrings, whatever. There's a big community with like crafting, arts and crafts types of things. People can put up tutorials and live stream tutorials and stuff and get traffic, and people kind of want to buy from you. You could have all kinds of channels connected. You could have like a Twitch or Kick channel connected. You could be up on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a way that you can kind of build it, but all this takes time, you know, and it takes like a product that's like worth building, like a whole, you know, like full campaign around. And if you're not working with products, you know, you can work with services, like I was saying with the social media management and copywriting. The difficulty with that is you do have to have a lot of samples, free samples. There's a lot of times you're giving away free work, but I think the benefit over selling products is that you can charge more. Like usually I was charging maybe $200 per gig if it's like a one time 1 to 2 day thing that I can finish. I'll charge maybe about $200 for it, and then $1,500 for like a subscription where you're getting something once a week for a whole month. That's pretty fair. But you're definitely grinding and putting in the work, and it can be a lot of work. And if you have to do edits of any kind, if you're doing video editing and all that kind of stuff, if you do unlimited edits, some of these people don't know what they want, or they're just like, well, I paid you $1,500, so you got to edit this like 18 times. You know, that cuts into your time and profit. Trying to manage multiple orders, and just trying to manage people who don't really know what they want. A lot of times people buy those types of services, you know, without an actual brand or without an actual solid, you know, idea in mind. Say if they're trying to sell, I don't know, maybe if they made their own brand of baseball cap and they're trying to sell their own brand of baseball cap, you know, and they don't even have the baseball caps yet, you know, they can't tell you anything about the fitting, about the size. They don't have products for you to show photos of or make videos about. Like, how are you supposed to create a website and content and social media around something that they don't even know what they're doing? Or they're like, oh, they're all going to be green, and then they change it and they're like, oh, they're all going to be red. And it's like, I literally spent all night building your website about this green cap, and now it's red. And it's like, you know, people sometimes aren't ready for what they hire you for. And so having a place to send them when they're not quite ready yet is a better idea than just taking them on. Because, you know, ideally you want someone who's going to be monthly using your services. Now, people don't need a new website every month. Maybe they're outsourcing your services, but people don't need a website every month. So there's other stuff that usually you might want to sell with that if you're trying to do a campaign, like monthly campaign and like a subscription. You're going to need multiple things that people can buy. Multiple products depending where they're at and what they need. Some people don't have an email list, so doing email campaigns isn't really going to be great for like someone who doesn't have an email list. Um, you know, if they don't have a YouTube channel or any channel where they want video, or even a product that would involve video, even if it's like a short 30-second clip, um, yeah, you're gonna really have to. It takes a lot, and trying to work with multiple niches can take a lot too, because you have to learn. It's like, okay, this guy wants me to work on his baseball cap brand, and this other person's selling bathrobes, and this other person's making friendship bracelets, and this other person has like a mechanic business, and this other person is a psychologist trying to open up like a new practice or whatever. It's like, can't really be a jack of all trades. It kind of helps to stick within niches at least that or just pick a niche, but then that also narrows you down. But then you can kind of automate some of those um, services. If you're kind of using the same lingo, you can have templates that you sell and all kinds of stuff. Like there are ways to scale it up, but it's a lot for one person to do the prospecting, the outreaching, getting the customers, and then doing the service for the customers. So that was kind of what was hardest for me to juggle, because then it's like, okay, do I hire other people out, and then like trying to search for someone who's available and kind of their work. You're basically hiring people, having to kind of like train them. If they're new people, it can slow down the process. And I mean, you can do internships or commission only, where you hire out people to help you with the outreach, to help you with the sales, and they can get experience from you with the cold calling or the cold outreach, or working through like a sales cadence process. But I don't know why I'm even talking about this on here, but basically last month I did post something about retirement and how difficult it is, and just on the note with finance, I think it's a topic that people like, and talking about employment, and a lot of people want remote work. Just one way to get remote work really is to make it yourself. It is possible in this day and age. I mean, I've only talked about stuff that I've done, but I mean, if you're diligent with it, you can make it a streamlined service that you do that's not like, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's not going to break your bank. You can make money on the side. I will never promise some kind of get rich quick thing. But I'm just trying to educate people. Like, this is the most general, I'm talking in the most general sense of what it looks like to create something from scratch for yourself. I would always recommend stay within what you know. Within what you know, where people are actually buying. Like, you can be, I don't know, somebody who fixes fans. I don't know if that's even, I feel like most people, when their fan breaks, they just buy a new one. Most people aren't like fixing a fan. Maybe they're fixing their AC units, but they're not fixing a fan usually. You don't see that too much. Now, people fixing computers and phones, that's a whole different thing. There's stuff stored on there, people want it back. So if you can fix anything where people have something stored on there, that is probably a better model than fixing something that is an electronic device that people can just discard, like a fan. Like, a lot of people, I don't know about you, I go through a lot of earbuds, headphones. They don't work forever. They eventually, the wiring gives out. or with the Bluetooth ones, eventually something works, like it stops working, like the charging case stops working, or it doesn't hold the charge, or whatever it is that happens. It breaks somehow. Um, Most of the time, unless you paid a whole lot or want to wait to send it out for repairs and get it shipped back to you and all that, most of the time when our headphones or earbuds or whatever break, we usually just buy a new pair, right? Or you can look online for a used pair that's cheaper and something you already had that you liked. But it's very, very rare that people will buy, that people will fix. Certain things people aren't going to fix, and certain things people will buy used. Books, people will buy used. But there's only so many books you're going to have, you know. Most of us don't own like a library that shut down and have access to books that we can just sell. But certain books do sell very well. The religious books sell really well. Classics sell really well. Series sell really well. Like if you have the whole series or a lot of the series. Um, Musical things, that's a musical instruments, and accessories is kind of something I've dabbled slightly with. Now I don't really know how it is with software these days, because a lot of things have all these, you know, permanent product key login things, so you can't really share them like that like you used to be able to. Because I remember I had Reason, Propellerhead software way back in the day, and I do think I bought used and I did resell, but I don't think I don't think I don't think I've done that in a while. Software is not as easy to sell as it used to be. The past couple laptops I sold, I think I did sell them. The past couple laptops I sold, I think I did sell them for the software, basically. I had like Microsoft Office, a really expensive statistical package, a bunch of stuff that I'd probably pirate downloaded or gotten from other people and had it on my computer. But that computer was worth a lot because of the software on it, and I don't remember what the issue was with the actual laptop itself, but the software was available, so I sold it. It sold for a lot of money. Now this is ages ago, and selling laptop parts, gaming laptops, gaming accessories, those things can sell very well, especially if they're name brand and high quality. I'm a big fan of Asus, Republic of Gamers products. There's a lot of stuff that you can get that sells, you know, some old school stuff, you know, Walkmans, Discmans, maybe even Sony mini discs. I don't really know. There's a lot of stuff that you might be able to sell, that's worth a lot of money, or some money. Like if you're not using it and it's just sitting there, you might want to see what you can sell. It really costs you shipping, and then again, I guess I have to mention this. So say, like, basically you lose a little bit of money. So let's say, for example, okay, I'm gonna do a little project right now. So I have, what is this? Stone. I have a stone Humish. I have an art school weekday sitter. Let's see. I'm gonna look up the stone Humish. Stone Humish. hardcover. I guess this is new. $34.99 on Mekar Judaika. $49.49 on Amazon. $14.49. So Mekar Judaika. So it's selling cheap or expensive. But I just have the one book. It's the full Chumash. It's not like a single. It's not the small ones. It's the large size. So let me look at this. There's a $55 version it says full size set. But it has the 5 books separately. That's $55. So let me see if I can find a different one. Because that's $55. I would get it it's Saturday right now when I'm recording this. The estimated delivery is sometime between Friday the 26th to Wednesday, May 1st. And it's in very good condition. One available. It's a set. Shipped with USPS Media Mail. I don't really know where it's shipping from, but that's not even the product I'm really talking about. So there's another Stone Chumash, $40, $6.35 shipping, to ship between, estimated delivery between this coming Thursday and next Tuesday. So no markings or writing within, small dent in spine, that kind of stuff. So I could probably sell mine if I wanted to for like $46 or so. It would cost me about the $6 shipping or whatever I choose for the shipping. Now when they get the item, they would once the person who purchases gets the item from me, they would basically put a review or something to solidify that they received it, and then I get the money paid out by a certain date to PayPal or whatever, and then I have to withdraw that money. So even if I sold it today, even if I shipped it today, it's Saturday, there might still be a post office open. It wouldn't even go out for delivery until starting Monday, and it would probably take till, if it's a local person, let's call it 3-4 days, so they might not get it till Wednesday, Thursday, and then I might not get my money till probably that would be at the earliest. I'd probably get my money Wednesday, Thursday if I shipped Saturday today. And I wouldn't get all that money. I wouldn't get the whole $40 because PayPal or whatever payment gateway is used is going to take whatever percent. So I'd probably get, if they take 10%, I'd get like $36. And yeah, so so you sell an item one day and you have to wait quite a bit of time to get your money back. Now, this is on items that I'm not even tracking. I don't even know how much I bought this thing for. I've had it for quite a while. So I don't even know if I'd be making a profit off of it. It's just selling something that's used that I already have. it makes more sense to, I mean, yeah, you can sell stuff that you have. If you're not going to use it anyways, whatever, sell it. But if you're trying to look at profits, you need to know how much you originally purchased something for to see if you're even making a profit. Now, usually the buyer pays all the shipping, or if you put the shipping too low, you're going to have to come out of pocket for the balance of the shipping. And it helps to get knowledgeable at understanding the shipping fees and all that kind of stuff, because there are ways to save. Usually for me, I'm kind of a lazy shipper, and so I usually use flat rate a lot. But in a lot of ways, I'm losing money. But in a lot of ways, it's like I know that the item fits in the flat rate box because I test it out first. So I'm not paying for the box and paying for all this other stuff. I'm just paying for it. You know, paying for it as I go. And you can get flat rate boxes and take them home and like bring them back. You know, I think they're still free. At least to my knowledge, you can just go in a post office, get a couple sizes, test out what's the best size, make sure you pad everything, make sure it fits, and ship it, and then you can list flat rate shipping costs. And usually, I've never had issues with flat rate shipping, but I have had issues. I remember once I sold kind of a smaller sized, it was probably like 20-inch monitor, flat screen. It was by NEC or NEC, NEC. I don't know what that company is, but it was one of my family's old desktop computer monitors that I sold. I was only using it when I was like dabbling with Raspberry Pi, and then I started using that monitor, and it worked. Everything was fine, and yeah, I used that monitor, and I basically didn't need it, and so I went to sell it, and it sold for like $50-$60, but then the shipping was going to be like a lot. I don't remember what it was, but it was like $60. It would have been like my whole profit, because I think I put free shipping or something, and so I wouldn't have made any money. So I just canceled the order because I was like, that's too much money. And this was so long ago, but yeah, I've sold a lot of stuff. You know, it's I don't know, sometimes I get into it. It's a nice little hobby. So I'd recommend it. I mean, that's something that if you really have things that you really aren't going to use, you know, just post them online. It's going to be free to post them, you know, unless you sell it, you're not going to have to deal with any kind of fees or anything. But you do have to pay fees once you sell something. That's just another thing. Or if you use paid promotions, you have to pay a fee on that, even if you don't sell it, I think, even if you don't make any sales. So I know a lot of these things, you know, you're not going to make your full income. You're not going to be making like $3,000 a month profit usually, because it takes time, you know. But if you can get a rhythm going where you're able to kind of like make something work, you know, don't go all crazy and like buy a whole bunch of stuff if you don't think you can unload it. And again, this isn't like a get rich quick, you know, it's make the profit, don't spend it on anything else, reinvest it in your hustle, and you'll make a profit that way. But that's probably the best I can recommend. for people to try. If you really want remote work, the best remote work, you can do your own process of sales, whatever that may look like. It just takes a while to kind of find a product or service that's going to sell. And if you have a service, you can market it. Some services you can market pretty good, such as with maybe like cell phone battery repairs or something. You can market that kind of stuff pretty good. Somebody just comes to you and you can fix it. But there's liability too. You might break their stuff. They might blame you. But a lot of times, people would much rather get benefits and work 9 to 5 and have the solid money. But you can make probably at least, on the very conservative side, I'd say you can build up any of this kind of stuff to like 2 days worth of income per month by working on it just a little bit on weekends. Like put in a few hours on the weekends and even schedule things so that you only have to deal with them on the weekends, so you're not like dealing with people all day long, or pick a day during the week where you're going to respond to emails and make it very clear on your website or where you're selling stuff. Make it very clear, like, hey, I only respond on these days, and be solid with it. Focus on good quality, focus on getting good reviews, and you can make money doing these things. I've done it, and I'm not even like great at things. It's just I have hobbies where I notice certain things can be worth money. I like reading religious texts, so I have a couple of them around. I like electronics, so I have a couple of them around. I like laptops. I've gone through quite a few laptops, some of them better than others. So I know that some sell for parts. I've had a lot of accessories as far as earbuds, headphones, gamepad, game controllers, USB cards, hard drives, whatever. Techie people don't mind buying used stuff, especially if they know how to fix it. But don't sell broken things if you don't mention what the issues are, and get very good at describing what the issues are, because people want a very good description. They want, if you can, use a platform that has video footage options, or definitely take tons and tons of pictures. You can sell all kinds of stuff, but learn about it and test it out, see where it goes. Don't spend a whole lot of money at once. Tell yourself how much money you want to spend if you are investing any money in it at all. I would not ever recommend just going out and buying a whole bunch of some kind of product and expecting that you're going to be able to sell it at a profit without ever having researched it. Or even if somebody else says they did it, I would say try one or two first. If you can sell one or two, then maybe there's a good market for it, maybe, but it's only one or two. And then you're going to always have to beat out the competition. You want to have good shipping, fast shipping, quality products. You don't want China products that are going to break while they ship, or break after 2 days of somebody using it, or things that don't set up, or things that don't even work when you first purchase them, or things that don't even last for a year. That's bad business, I've gone through 2 of those little mini microphones that I've used for podcasting, and now that's why I'm just back on, using my iPhone classic lightning cable earbuds, I don't even mess with these Bluetooth things anymore. Bluetooth earbuds are even a little too annoying for me. I don't like having to charge stuff all the time. And sometimes they don't fit right, or one might get lost or whatever. So I don't prefer messing with them, but whatever. Um, but I don't know if I'm gonna post these episodes that have to do with finance topics. It's kind of just something I enjoy talking about, is ways to make money. Um, it's kind of like a hobby. I like to have little money making hobbies, um, or testing out little side hustles, but definitely having a little hobby to be able to make a little money. Um, that's worth it, because a lot of times that's the money that I use if I want to go to a concert or go out with friends or whatever. I try not to use my main income. I try to use my side hustle money. So, but also reinvesting that money back into whatever projects it is that I'm doing to make the money in the first place. So, I don't know. I hope you guys like this one. You guys seem to like the other one about retirement. This is something more about remote work. Um, can you create your own remote work? Yes. It's really a lot of math and not getting emotional in the spending, or super hyped up or ultra motivated to a point where you just start spending all the money with your motivation, thinking, oh, this is gonna work, this is gonna work. And sometimes it might work, but you gotta really know what you're doing. I mean, I've done it before. I spent a bunch of money on some instruments that I was gonna repair, and I did unload them eventually. I found it easier when I was living in San Ysidro, closer to the border. For some reason, I was able to make a lot of sales down there. And this was pre-pandemic, and um, there was something about that area where I was able to get a lot of money reselling stuff. I would post it for cheap though, and I don't really know if I was um, I'll post it for cheap, and I don't really know if I was sorry, I'm totally losing my train of thought. I didn't really know if I was like actually um, making a profit, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I wasn't tracking the expenses. I was just like, oh, I'm making sales. And I think, what app was I using? OfferUp. I think I mostly used OfferUp. I've had decent luck with OfferUp with selling. That's what I used when I was injured, when I had my back injury and I wasn't able to drive or do Uber Eats because I couldn't sit upright very long. I was reselling some stuff off of OfferUp, and that worked out pretty smoothly for me. So, like some sports equipment, some electronics, snowboard equipment, some seasonal sports equipment. It was closer to the beginning of the year, so people were a little more interested in fitness, and then some of the snowboarding gear, um, people kind of wanted, people were more interested in that. And summer's approaching, so the weather's getting better, and people might want some outdoor products. I've heard that like fishing, camping, that kind of stuff sells pretty well. I don't really know that much about it, but I've heard that it sells pretty good. Um, and so yeah, that's kind of what I could talk from my own experience. Just don't go all wild buying a bunch of stuff, and expecting you're gonna unload it fast and get a profit fast, unless you really know what you're doing. Um, you know, So yeah, I'm just gonna cut this one because it's already super long. Um, but that's kind of mostly what I have to say on that note. Hopefully you guys like this as a breather episode. Um, I wasn't really intending to post this today, but I kind of just felt like rambling about it because it's what's on my mind. So, um, I think a lot of us need to be a lot more business oriented. Even if it's small things, they can go a long way. You can save that money and turn it into something bigger. I do think one of the main American issues is the overspending on the impulse buys, and the impulse buys aren't like they used to be. How people would just buy junk. People are more so buying subscriptions and food. It's mostly that kind of stuff that is, or like even Ubering all over the place and stuff. Um, I mean, I know a lot of people Uber and they're like, oh, well, it's because I was going to go out and drink. And it's like, well, maybe you're drinking too much if you can't afford the Ubers that you have to pay. Being real with ourselves, not being defensive, being true to our expenses, and almost treat it like someone like Caleb Hammer is looking over your purchases every time, looking over your shoulder. Do you need that? Is that an impulse buy? Is there a plan for that? Is it just because you're tired? Is it just because you didn't plan in advance for your energy? Is it just because this is the easiest way to do this? Or is there sometimes when we can like suck it up just for the sake of saving more, having more money? Now, I'm not trying to say that the economy is good, therefore, people are lying about being underpaid and underemployed. I do not think that at all. Like, I see the pay rates and I'm like, people can't live off of this, I have a master's degree, and the amount of money that some of these companies offer, it's like I literally might as well just work at McDonald's. They pay more, you know. If I'm trying to get $18 an hour to work my tail off at some super stressful job for some hospital or something where I'm going to be running around and there's crises going on all the time, I could just chill at McDonald's and work at the window and make the same amount of money, same benefits, less stress, probably move up within a year in management or so, maybe even 2 years, 1 or 2 years, become a manager, make better money than I would be making with a master's degree at some of these hospital sites. And that's the honest truth. In LA, one of the most expensive cities to live, they don't want to pay their social workers. And with the crisis going on with the homeless and everything, these are the people servicing the homeless populations. It's like, I know there's money, they don't want to pay the workers. It's sad, and I can only talk for that field, but, the job market is not pretty. But you really, if you do really buckle down on your spending, try not to spend outside of what Caleb Hammer says, have an emergency fund, get a side hustle that makes you extra money, and not overspend that extra money too. It might help you. I mean, if you think about how much could $400 extra a month get you if you already had an extra like 200, that's like 600. Like, could you make $100 profit a week doing something? How much would that take to make $100 extra a week? Even if you're just doing Uber Eats, you could make $100 a week doing that. It doesn't even have to be every day, but you can make $50 profit a day driving about, if you drive a car with bad gas mileage. If you're I think the most I ever made in a day was like close to 70, and that was driving like 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday. So I think the profit was more like $65 $65. Um, and that was just one day. And if I would have driven like just lunch shifts or dinner shifts, it definitely would have been 100 a week. You know, I think Uber Eats, you can definitely make the 100 a week. So at the very least, you can do that. Um, if you have a car. If you don't, check out that EPMS. I think it's called Grace Hill or something. I don't know, but check out EPMS to do be like a housing secret shopper, an apartment renter secret shopper. I don't know what you call it, but they pay about $40 a gig. Some of them pay about $60 a gig. You don't get the money right away. I've recorded a whole episode about these things. It's not a scam. You do make the money, but you can't really guarantee because it depends where you live and you can't keep going to the same ones or the same companies that are posting them. So eventually you get put on a list of, the companies. I think for me it's Greystar. I've been to a lot of the Greystar, apartment viewings. And so whenever I see one that's listed by Greystar, my name is on the list. And so I can't just keep going because I've been going for like over a year. And it's like, you haven't rented a place yet, but now I do know that when I am actually going to be looking for an apartment, I'm going to actually use one of those Greystar places. Because they actually do have more affordable rent if you can find a way for a few months before you're about to move to make close to like the $6,000, $7,000 range a month. I mean, that's a lot, I know, but if you have proof of it in your bank accounts for like 2-3 months or so, your expenses and your credit is good, I've seen those apartments, luxury apartments, get as cheap as like $1,200, $1,500 a month for apartments that you'd be paying like $3,000 a month on. You get like almost half off for some of these desperate sites. But you have to have that income proof. But that's one way to get into cheaper housing, if you can kind of find a way to have proof of income. That's more just to get in, and then you could go back to your normal income, even if that means somebody else direct depositing $3,000 extra to your bank or whatever. I mean, you'd really have to have a method to do that, but whatever gets your foot in the door, and then you'd have cheaper rent at a luxury apartment complex. That's one way to get it. But I learned that through going to these sites, that there is a way to get cheaper rent. You just have to get like a nice move-in special. Okay, so I've been talking forever, but I'm gonna end this here. It's already over an hour, I think. Yeah, it's over an hour. But I hope this is helpful to people out there, at least get the gears turning. I know people are struggling with money. It's really hard for me to make like actual tutorials. If you go over to my Game and Compute podcast, I talk a little bit more in detail about some of these topics. It's also on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this. The Game and Compute podcast is on there too. At the moment, it has like green writing, like green letters, and like a picture of like some kind of computer in the background. It's actually some kind of stock, like the stock market. It's one of those photos showing like the stock market graphs. I didn't really want one to be showing that specifically. I wanted it to be something else, but because it has nothing to do with stocks, really. Like, I talk a little bit about credit, how like little ways you can raise your credit. That was like a couple years ago. I talked about that. I talked a little bit about just a lot of it's like side hustle related, e-commerce related, digital marketing related. But again, a lot of this stuff is kind of hard to talk about by a podcast. But yeah, if you guys want more, it's over there. Otherwise, we're just over here. But hopefully you guys like this episode.